Welcome to Mr. Erbac's game. Game start.
Happy Halloween!
Mr. Erbac's retro classic video game review.
2 years ago, I reviewed a classic Konami franchise brought to the Game Boy, Operation C, and entering the Contra series.
If you play previous Contra games, you can pick up and play immediately. Except in this one, you can hold the B button, since you start out with Machine Gun instead of the default
Last year for Halloween, I reviewed Castlevania The Adventure for the Game Boy.
The classic Castlevania is reflected pretty good in this Game Boy entry. The graphics are as good as they could be for an early game on this system that has limitations. The back
Castlevania The Adventure is so much slower than Castlevania on NES. It's incredibly slow and frustrating.
If you haven't already, go ahead and check that out.
Check out that review.
You know something, when I was a guest on Stephen S. Plays, I got stuck playing a crappy Castlevania ripoff called Frankenstein.
Welcome to Stephen S. Plays. Horror games. What is this? Frankenstein the Monster Returns. Yeah. So get out of the way, Stephen S. while I check out this one. I'm sure it's going to be a classic. What is this, a ripoff of Castlevania? I'd rather play Castlevania than the damn ripoff.
Let me tell you something, villain. It was my show. And if you don't like it, I got 2 words for you. Tough luck.
Castlevania The Adventure would get a sequel on Nintendo Game Boy. Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. Would Konami do justice to Castlevania this time around? At least they did a better job on that than Konami's NFL on Game Boy. That sucked really bad. Anyway, let's find out for this Halloween.
What a horrible night for a curse.
Most people know of Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, on the NES. That game was an RPG, role-playing game, you know, with the gameplay elements of the first Castlevania. The difference was, it was not on straightforward action adventure. You had to go to town, trying to figure out where to go and getting poorly written hints to solving puzzles from townspeople. This game was tough as nails and very difficult to get through without a strategy guide. Ah! Son of a... Now this Castlevania 2 plays like you'd expect. It plays even more like the original Castlevania than the first Game Boy Adventure. That's because Konami would now have more experience with the Game Boy hardware. So grab your cross, your garlic, your whip,
Your holy water?
and your Game Boy. Okay, just your Game Boy. As I look at this portable sequel in the classic series you can take on the go. Maybe bring a light, so at least you can see these horrible creatures in the dark. So here's some insight into the story. Let's go over the story, and you will not win this time, I'm telling you. Thanks for the memories.
In the first Castlevania adventure, the fearless vampire hunter Christopher Belmont fought toe-to-toe, whip-to-wing against the vampire king, Count Dracula. Belmont defeated the Count, destroyed his castle, but unfortunately Dracula used what remained of his magical powers to transform his body into mist, thereby making good his escape. However, his powers were so depleted that he was left unable to transform back into human form. The Count decided to wait and rebuild his dark forces. Deep inside his black heart, he swore revenge on Christopher Belmont and his family. 15 years later, a ceremony was held in the town of Transylvania. The son of Christopher Belmont, Soleil Belmont, had come to age, and it was time for the title of Vampire Hunter to be passed down to him. The ceremony was to commemorate this occasion. All the citizens of Transylvania rejoiced, hoping that the father-son team of vampire hunters would bring peace to the region forever. But on the morning after the ceremony, it was discovered that Soleil Belmont had vanished into thin air. The ceremony was the chance Dracula had waited for. Soleil received great sacred power in the ceremony to mark his adulthood, and Dracula used his last bit of magic to turn Soleil's powers against him, transforming him into a terrible demon. Then, aided by the Soleil demon, Dracula was able to assume human form once again. That evening, to the northeast of the village, the earth shook with a thunderous roar and 4 ominous castles appeared. And then, in a lake at the center of these castles was another castle, the new lair of Count Dracula. Horrified to learn that his son had been altered by the forces of evil, Christopher Belmont determined to save Soleil and break the ambitions of the Count. He journeyed to the new castles, each ruled by a different power of darkness, placed thereupon by the Soleil demon to stop anyone who would tamper with the mystic spell Dracula had cast upon him. Nevertheless, in order to save the village of Transylvania and free his son, Christopher had no choice but to go and fight once again.
Your quest kicks off at whichever of the first 4 levels that you choose. Like the Mega Man games, you get to choose your level. Your choices are Crystal Castle, Cloud Castle, Plant Castle, and Rock Castle. Complete all 4 levels in any order, and you unlock the final level, Dracula's Castle, of course. If you played previous Castlevania games, you can pick up and play immediately. The B button is your attack button, and the A button is to jump. The select button is not used. Start button to pause. Just like the previous adventures, you start out with a normal whip. So as I said, you start off with a whip, but there are crystals that can upgrade your whip. One crystal will lengthen and strengthen your weapons to take out the freaks that come out at night. A second crystal will give your whip the power to spew forth fireballs. No need for another crystal unless you lose a life. You start off with 3 lives. Earn enough points and you'll earn an extra life. You can also find the rare 1-up items, but they're hidden, like the meat is. To make things easier, unlike the first game, this one has a password system. Speaking of items, as you can see, sub-weapons are here from the original on the consoles, unlike Castlevania The Adventure, which didn't have them. Up plus B button to use either the battle axe or holy water. The coin is for a high score, of course. The hats are now like original Castlevania. They fill up your weapon supply. In Castlevania The Adventure, the hearts filled up your life energy because there were no sub-weapons. Finding health, you have to look for it though. Here are enemies you'll frequently encounter. The powers of evil. If you played the first one, you should be ready for some of them. Speaking of enemies, every level has an end boss. Dracula's castle has 3 areas and 3 bosses. High levels involve you going left or right, up, sometimes down, to get to those bosses. Now your character moves twice as fast as Christopher Belmont did in the adventure. Also, pressing down plus B button, you can slide down the ropes in this one. This is still a little slower than the console Castlevania game, but man, is it a whole lot faster than the previous game. Castlevania is well known for being a difficult game. This sequel is tough, but not as tough as Castlevania The Adventure. Oh no. Stairs are still replaced by ropes. This time around, getting hit does not take away power from your trusty vampire killer down a notch. This time, you have to lose a life to lose the power-ups of your whip. That's nice. The game feels a little less cramped than The Adventure. Christopher Belmont moves faster this time around. Jumping has improved, but you still need to be careful. It can still get frustrating. Ah! This game can be tough, but you have unlimited continues at your disposal, checkpoints, and a password system. If you lose all your lives, of course, it's back to the start of the level for you. This game is twice as long as The Adventure.
Graphics.
The classic Castlevania is reflected better than the Adventure in this Game Boy entry. The graphics are much more crisp, much more clear than its predecessor. Everything is easy to see. This game is shaded good on the small screen. The backgrounds are full of detail. There's a variety of architecture and textures. The creatures and enemies of the night are represented good when comparing them to the artwork in the instruction manual.
Sound.
The sound effects are nothing to write home about, but the music will have you whistling those awesome tunes. The musical score is even better than some of its console counterparts. Konami outdid itself in Castlevania The Adventure and this game. An all-new musical score, but still recognizable as Castlevania.
Gameplay.
As for the gameplay, this game has a great difficulty curve. It gradually becomes more difficult, but because of the improved gameplay, it never feels unfair. The speed increase and ability to slide down the ropes are big additions, alongside the return of sub-weapons. Jumping is improved and the controls are as responsive as the console classics. The first game was slow and plodding. This sequel is a vast improvement. Beating it will unlock hard mode. In a hard mode, enemies will strip you of 1 degree of whip power, like Castlevania the Adventure. This game is tough enough, but if you want this challenge, have at it. Let's look at the negatives.
Score.
While the first game was so hard it was bad in some ways, this game is a big improvement. It's a challenge, but fair. It's an improvement just about every way. If you want a straightforward Castlevania experience that Simon's Quest didn't give you, check this out. I give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Game over. Thank you for watching. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Action.